So, guys, I said I was going to talk about last week on Money Mondays. I said I was going to talk about profit, and I was going to talk about breaking down Josh Wheelock's numbers here. And I just got the final numbers. I've been saying that it was 80,000 in GCI that he's made so far. Pending his next two transactions, he will have 101,000 in GCI from us after spending a total of 9,200 year to date. And Josh Wheelock, I can proudly say, is on a 0% plan with us because he pays us up front for the year instead of paying a referral fee. So that is the goal. That is the goal eventually to move and migrate off of a referral basis into a annual subscription where it works for everyone. And so what I promised last week. Oh yeah, I'll make sure that you're the co-host here. So what I promised last week was a full breakdown of the numbers that we've gotten for someone like Josh Wheelock. After having 101,000 in GCI in return, and he only spent $9,200. But last week we talked about leading and lagging indicators, the two defining indicators in your business that define how and when you generate business. And when I talk about how and when, what I'm referring to is creating predictability. Creating predictability. So when I'm talking about predictability, I'm talking about where I have a slot machine and I put $1 in and I get $10 back. Okay, that's what I'm talking about when I say predictability. Now, some people want and crave predictability, and so as a result, they kind of fall back on what they know. And here, what I'm going to define and what I'm going to show you guys is how you can go from your next 6 transactions being a question mark to you knowing exactly what the formula is, what the game plan is, what the math is in order for you to get that transaction. Okay, and so it's a very, very specific. I'm going to go math heavy today because I have a real life case study. Okay, I have a real life case study for you guys to break down, and I'm going to ask for your guys' participation. Okay, so don't worry, we're not going to do anything more advanced than regular regular algebra. Okay, it's not going to be anything super advanced. Okay, so I'm also going to be looking at my phone. This isn't because I'm texting awesome people like yourself. This is because I'm looking at my calculator. Okay. I remember Miss Winstead, my 3rd grade teacher, said that we would never have a calculator in our pockets. And here we are. So for those of you who just joined, this is a continuing of last week. Last week for Money Mondays, we talked about how to define leading and lagging indicators. And just a quick recap. Before I get into Josh's numbers, I want to do a quick recap so that we're all on the same page and we all know what we're talking about. So leading indicators are the things and actions and events that you do that take place that lead to an end result. Okay? It sounds very ambiguous. That leads to an end result. Okay? For example, cold calling. Number of dials is a leading indicator. Okay? For example, advertising spend. How much you spend on advertising is another leading indicator. Okay? How much time you spend at networking events is a leading indicator. So if I spend 24 hours at a networking event, I'm gonna, I connect with X amount of people. Time spent is a leading indicator. Okay, so it's leading up to an end result. What is our lagging indicator? A lagging indicator is what occurred as a result of the leading indicator. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So using that example, cold calling. I cold called 1,000 people, and it resulted in 100 appointments, over the phone conversations. Okay, that's a result, is 100 conversations. Now I'm going to get real meta here. Okay, I don't mean to get like super complicated. Okay, but a leading indicator can also be a lagging indicator. Okay, what do I mean by that? Okay, so if we cold called 1,000 people, that's our leading indicator. Our lagging indicator is 100 conversations. Now, what's the real lagging indicator that we're after? Number of closed transactions, right? That's what we're really after. So if our leading indicator is 100 conversations now, what's the lagging indicator of 100 conversations? How many in-person appointments, right? And now, if our leading indicator is in-person appointments, now what is our lagging indicator? It's number of signed listing agreements or agency agreements, right? And if our number of signed listing and agency agreements is our leading indicator, what is our lagging indicator? It's number of closed deals, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, I know you guys can get very granular, very, very meta with this, but if we zoom out for a second and we say, okay, we made 1,000 cold calls, that's our leading indicator. And then as a result of that, we got one transaction. That's our lagging indicator. Okay? So now we can accurately predict, roughly, for every 1,000 cold calls I make, I get one transaction. Now that's gross oversimplification. That's a gross oversimplification. Okay? I want to be clear about that. Some of you guys are like, well, it doesn't exactly work like that. Yeah, I know. I know it doesn't. So I'm going to give you guys an example with Josh Wheelock. Okay, I'm going to give you the number of leads. I'm going to give you the number of live call transfers. I'm going to give you the number of appointments that he's had. I'm going to give you the number of opportunities that he's had in total. Okay? And he has given me his permission to share these numbers with you guys. Okay? So his total GCI in return is 101,000. That's our lagging indicator. Okay? Hey, Andres. Can you draw on this while we're defining this? Does it let you draw?
Yeah.
It does? Okay. All right. All right. So guys, there's no guarantees how beautiful Andres is going to draw it. Okay. And if there's a note that Andres forgot, Heather, just please fill in the gaps. All right. So let me see so I can see you guys. Okay. So our leading indicator is we've had 425 leads. Actually, no, excuse me. Our leading indicator is $9,200 in advertising spent. That's our leading indicator. Now we're going to break this entire funnel metric down. Okay? Now the only missing pieces that I don't have are number of in-person appointments. Okay, but I will be able to tell you guys which ones we've had. Number of agency agreements. Okay, so our leading indicator is 9,200 in advertising spend, and as a result of that, we generated 425 leads. And some of you guys might do the math on that and figure, okay, that is an expensive buyer lead. That's an expensive buyer lead. Here's where it gets really fun. Okay. So as a result of that, as a result of 9,200 in total advertising spend, 425 is the number of total leads. Okay, so that's the result. Okay. And as a result of the 425 leads, he had 128 transfers. Now, can someone do the math for me? What is the cost per transfer if 9,200 is the advertising spend? Now, mind you guys, this is also a brand new agent. This is a brand new agent who this is his first year in real estate. So when I asked him, I said, hey, do you feel like there was like at least a few transactions that you missed out on? He was like, oh my gosh, most definitely. There's definitely some transactions that I totally fumbled the ball. Okay, so 9,200 divided by 128 transfers total. So that's a cost per transfer of $71. Let's round up, say 72. Okay. Well, real quick, while you're drawing that out, I think you can still come back to it. I think you still can. Maybe you can. I don't know. I want to stop right here and emphasize this. At this point, $71 or $72 per transfer. Okay, that means 72. He spends $72 and he gets to have a conversation. Okay, this is the thing that I really want to emphasize here. What math did we figure out earlier? It cost $21.65 to get a lead, and it's costing him about $72 per transfer. I think I might have rounded up now. So it's costing him $72 per transfer. This means that roughly every 2.5, every 3 leads that he's getting, he's having a conversation. So that means if I'm looking at this as from a slot machine perspective, if I put $1 in, or excuse me, if I put $72 in, I know that I'm going to get a conversation back out. So when we call this pipeline on demand, this is what we mean when we say pipeline on demand. Because now you have just created your own slot machine where, okay, I spend $72. Now your numbers might be different, okay? Some of you guys just started out, you're getting a lot of transfers, and that number looks really good. But when we zoom out, when we see the averages, this is a very consistent number. Now I can very confidently spend $72, and I know I'm going to get a conversation back out, okay? So let me pull back up our whiteboard. Okay, out of the 128 total,
it's 12:15.
He had 19 live call transfers. He had 19 live call transfers. 9,200 divided by 19. That is a live call transfer cost of $485. Now, who would agree that that's a pretty pricey live call transfer? That's a pretty pricey one. Now, get this. Here's where it gets interesting. Now, wait, Sean, you're telling me normally 50% of your live call transfers are over the phone, or of your live call transfers. Excuse me. 50% of the transfers are over the phone. They're live. They're not booked appointments. They're not scheduled callback times. They're live call transfers. 50% of them, right? Well, you'd be right, because next he had 67 over the phone appointments, meaning we talked to them. We attempted to make a live call transfer. It did not occur because the agent was unavailable or his lender was unavailable. We had 67 that resulted in an over-the-phone appointment. 67. So when I look at those numbers, when I see, 480, that is an expensive live call transfer. Well, there's more to the story because he didn't answer his phone. Now, what I'm going to tell you here at the end is going to blow your mind, guys, because I'm going to give you a breakdown of where all of his transactions. So he's had 10 transactions so far. I'm going to tell you where all of his transactions came from. So 67, what is that? 9,200 divided by 67. That's $137 per over the phone appointment. This means for every $137 that I spend, my team has had a conversation with someone and scheduled an appointment. So his cost per for 67 is $137. And then he had 21 AI booked appointments. These were 21 appointments that were booked after hours. Okay? These were appointments that were booked after 7, 8 p.m. late at night or early in the morning. He had 21. And all in all, he had 21 self-booked appointments. So he had 21 text appointments and he had 21 self-booked appointments. And self-booked appointments, for you guys who don't know, self-booked is when they fill out their information, they have not only when they fill out their information, they have the opportunity to raise their hand, but they also have the chance to schedule a callback with you. So they have the opportunity to schedule a callback, and 21 people self-booked an appointment. Now, those people weren't vetted by us, but 21 was the number. Now, here's where the numbers get crazy here. So out of these 19 live call transfers, out of these 19, and out of these 67 over the phone appointments, and out of these 21 text appointments, and out of these 21 self-booked appointments, how many of you, I'm going to stop here. How many of you guys think that out of 10 transactions, how many of them do you think came from live call transfers? Take a wild guess. 5? 5? Maybe you've heard me say this before.
All of them. No?
No. So out of his 10 transactions, 5 came from his live call transfers. 3 of them came from text and AI after hours, and 2 of them came from a self-booked appointment.
What's the self-booked appointment? So I can start.
So self-booked appointment. So imagine this. They open YouTube or they open Facebook. They see Harper's ad. They see his ad. They click on his ad. They fill out their information. You know how typically when you fill out an information, it takes you to a thank you page?
Yeah.
So on the thank you page, we have your calendar integrated so that they have the opportunity to self-book their own callback time. You know, so they're already there. They're already, they already see who you are. They're already, there's intent already there, and so they have the opportunity to self-book an appointment. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, very seldom. But when someone's ready to go, that's one way of capitalizing on their motivation. So 2 were self-booked, 3 were after hours AI, text communication. That means that we texted over the phone. And 50% of the 5 of them came from live call transfers. So when we look at the cost there, all in all, right now his cost per acquisition is $920. And right now his total return on investment is $101,000. Okay. Now, based on our classes earlier that we've given on this, is that good? Are we okay with that number? What do you guys think?
Looks good on paper to be good.
It's good on paper. I would agree. Initially, it looks good on paper. However, I talked to Josh already about this. Okay, so I'm not just dogging on him because he's not here. All right. I talked to him, and he and I both agreed there's a lot of work that could be done here. And the reason why, I use his example all the time. The first 6 months that he was with us, he completely flopped. So if we were to half that ad spend, here's the craziest part, guys. Those 10 transactions came in the last 6 months. Nothing about his ad campaign, nothing about his strategy changed, nothing about his ad change, nothing about what the ISA was doing on the back end, nothing about that changed. Now, if we were to half that budget, if we were at 4,500, let's say 9,200 divided by 2, we're at 4,600. That's a 22x return. A 20-to-1 plus return. If he didn't spend money on ads, that he didn't follow best practices, if he didn't answer his phone. Now, we've already had a conversation with Josh, but the lesson here is, number one, track where your money's coming from. Okay, track where your money's coming from. So if Josh had an earlier analysis of this, by the way, he hasn't updated his pipeline. He's not following best practices. So when I give you guys quotes on return on investment, I always say this is based on the average agent. But had he tracked where his numbers were coming from, he'd see, okay, live call transfers are actually a lot more serious than I anticipated. You know, and I asked him one time, I said, why do you miss something? Well, because some of them are just not serious, and it's like, I'm in the middle of something that's just a complete waste of time. And then I show him the data. I'm like, hey, did you know that you don't have a 1 in 10 chance. You have almost a 1 in 4 chance at this point of every live call transfer being a $10, $15, or $20,000 commission check. And he's like, no, I didn't do that. Completely changed the perspective. And so for some of you guys who don't have a transaction yet, some of you guys might, okay, I get it, Sean. Leading indicators, I got to spend more money. I got to get people in the funnel. I got to get people in the door. Okay, I get that. But how else can I measure where the money's coming from if I haven't gotten any money yet? And this is where it's really important to look at the next step over from your leading indicator. Okay, and that's why I broke it down for you guys today, from number of leads to number of closings. From number of leads to number of closings, there's a lot of different steps in between there, right? So if we don't have a closing, what's next to that? We got a listing agreement. We got an agency agreement. And the reason why I didn't give you the cost per agency agreement, because so far Josh is 10 for 10. Yes, sir.
Sorry, Sean, to interrupt. I wanted to know, he said 128 appointments, right? And he got 425 leads. So that's the rate of 30%, right?
That's correct.
What do you think about that?
I think that's a healthy number. I might almost consider that might be too much, too many opportunities. However, this is also over the time span of 12 months. So if this was like, if I was reviewing these numbers and like the sweet spot for us, to give you the short answer, the sweet spot for us is around 15%.
Right, that's what I would think, because this seems too high, right? Looking at the kind of leads that come in, they get vetted. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would absolutely agree with you. Yep. And if you look at this, 21, if you subtract the self-booked appointments, there was technically 107 from us, 107 that we vetted and transferred over. So if you do that math, 425 divided by 107, I did that math wrong. That's a 25%, which seems a lot more realistic if you subtract the 21 that were self-booked. So, yep, that's a great question. That's a great question. Where was I at? So if we don't have number of agency agreements, we're looking at the next best thing. And I know that this is almost like a hard indicator. It's like, okay, how do I measure how many times I meet a person? Well, you literally take a tally. Okay, when we talk about auditing your time, when we talk about auditing the last 90 days, we talk about, okay, who in the last 90 days was on my calendar? And what level of effort did it take to get those people on my calendar and have an in-person appointment? So over the course of the next 90 days, which by the way, guys, we're about to go into Q4, what I want you guys to do is measure how many in-person appointments you have and make sure that it's present on your calendar. So that when you're doing an audit, when you're looking at your week, when you're looking at your month, you say, okay, I had 6 in-person appointments. I spent $400 on marketing, but I had 6 in-person appointments. Okay, I don't have a closing yet. However, I have, for every $66 I spend or every $67 I spend, I have an in-person appointment. Or maybe that number's more for you. Maybe you spent 400 and you only had 1 meeting, but that led to an agency agreement, which according to NAR happens 70% of the time when you're the first agent that they interview. Did you guys know that? Doesn't matter how bad your breath smells. There's a 70% chance that you're going to be the first agent that they choose to do business with, if you're the first one. So if we don't know, if we look at our in-person appointments, if we haven't gotten to that point yet, okay? And I know in some areas it's a little harder than others. Like in Huntsville, Alabama, it depends on where you live. If we haven't gotten to the in-person appointments, now we're measuring how many in-person or over-the-phone conversations do we have. Okay? And believe it or not, I know that sounds silly. You're like, okay, how measuring number of conversations, okay? I spent $400 and I only had, 6 conversations. Again, that's, for every $70 I spend, now I'm getting introduced to a new person. That's a new at-bat. That's like speed dating. Like I get to have a conversation with someone who not only raised their hand once, but raised their hand twice when they spoke to my assistant. Right? And so now I'm measuring how many conversations it takes before I get to the next event. And it's like, okay, I got 10 over-the-phone conversations and it led to 1 in-person appointment. But then you jump on a coaching call with Chris Abizas, who's like, hey man, you got to start setting up next steps. You got to start creating some urgency. You got to start creating a pipeline. You got to start creating a game plan. And then the next 10 conversations, you actually book 2 appointments in person because you're better. And now you're like, it makes more sense. Now I just need to put more money into the slot machine because I've gotten better. Okay, guys, we're out of time. But to wrap this up, if you guys don't know, how does the saying go? If you don't measure, you don't improve on what you don't measure. You can't improve on what you don't measure. Try weighing yourself for the next 30 days and see what happens with your weight. I know when I said, I was like, I don't want to do that. I got some love handles. Plus the holidays are coming up. So, all right, guys. So tomorrow, I hope. Did you guys get some value today? Did you guys know more than you knew coming into today's call? Did you guys know how to apply it into your business that same day? Did I hold my promise?
Absolutely.
Anyone give me a thumbs up if I did? Okay. Trust you guys would. Tomorrow we have Heather. Heather, are we wrapping up our series? We're gonna combine this all together for the. I like the headline of Heather. I don't know if we can do it, but 30 posts in 30 minutes. I like that headline. Do you think we can accomplish that?
Yeah.
Okay. So tomorrow, same time, same link. Come prepared with a notepad. Bring your note taker. Record it. We're going to record this, but this is going to be a very, very intense call tomorrow. I'm super excited about it. You guys should not miss our Tech Tuesdays with Heather. She's amazing. And then on Wednesday, Wednesday is going to be the start of a new quarter. Is that right? October 1 on Wednesday? Is that right? We're going to have an announcement on how we're going to be doing these events. We're going to keep the 5 days open for you guys. But once a week, every other week, we're going to be putting on a 2-hour masterclass where it's very, very detailed, very in-depth, very detailed. So this is like you're going to walk away with a page full of notes and 3 clear action items from that call on what you're going to do in your business that same day. And so these are going to be very intensive and boot camp style, and also have an announcement to make on Wednesday about our partner, Chris Abizas, who's in the house. Okay, guys, before I shut it down, anything else? Cool? Keep being awesome. Good.
Thank you.
Keep being awesome, guys. See ya.